I mean, wow, what a game. I think nobody really expected the Minnesota Vikings to be able to go into the Superdome and find a way to get a win, but they did it, and a large part of it was because Kirk Cousins did come through in the clutch in overtime. Like, let's start off with a very early on play, which I actually thought was a really great play by Cousins. It's really not easy to make this type of play. And what's going to happen is that it's zone coverage, and it's going to be play action to Cook, and then he has two receivers who are running deep. So basically, this is a deep shot here. They're trying to hopefully maybe even get in field goal range on this one play, or at the very least, just pick up a lot of yards. That's what they're hoping for on this play. And so Cousins fakes the handoff. He has time. He's looking downfield, but I know you can't see it on this screen, but nothing is open that he likes deep down the field. Now, a lot of guys would still take a shot in this situation. You know, a lot of guys want to see if they can get it all. But Kirk Cousins does the smart thing. He's just going to hit Cook right over there, who is going to be open. He throws it in his direction. Cook is able to pick up almost the first down. He probably could have gotten the first down had he just gone forward. Not the best running there by Cook, but either way, I thought that was a smart play by Kirk Cousins to basically say, you know what, we'll take a second down and short or first down as opposed to trying to force something deep, potentially throwing an interception, which could cost us the game. Let's play it smart here. I thought that was a great decision by Cousins. And a lot of guys don't make those great decisions in those high pressure moments, but Cousins did. So, I mean, you know, the narrative is he can't win big games, but hey, I mean, he played great in this final drive. Like the very next play was another key situation where this is now, okay, it's the third down and one since Cook did not pick up the first down. And for the Saints, they're having man coverage right here. They're actually going to blitz. It's going to be a 5-man rush. And it's going to be man coverage, which means that basically the entire middle of the field could be open. So for Kirk Cousins, just find the route that you like the best and throw it in that direction. And so he has a great route in this situation. It's going to be Diggs' route, which is going to be right over there. And let's be honest, you can definitely trust Diggs in a big moment against the Saints in the playoffs. You know, I mean, he obviously was the Minnesota Miracle guy. And so he's going to throw it in Diggs' direction, especially because this is a great route against this type of coverage. It has a cut in it, which is great against man. And so after the ball is snapped, he's open. Now, admittedly, there is also a defensive player who's in the area and also a defensive player who's in front of him who's going to run out to make sure that he's covering Cook. So Cousins does have to just wait a second. And this definitely isn't a wide open throw by any means. But he times it perfectly, he throws it perfectly accurate, and is able to get it to Diggs, who, listen, he was frustrated earlier that it seemed like it's because he wasn't getting the ball. It's possible he was just frustrated that he was getting open and, you know, he just wants to win. He doesn't really care about himself so much as maybe he just had a problem with the way they're running their offense in general. But he was clearly frustrated, but, you know, making plays like that that heals all wounds, essentially. He was able to make the play, and they get the first down. And of course, while we're all going to give Cousins the credit, as we all gave him blame when he would lose the games, he is not the only person to give credit to, especially on this final drive. One guy who deserves a ton of credit is Dalvin Cook. I mean, he's been such a monster for Minnesota all year, and he even had a great play on this drive where what they're going to do is that's going to be the blocking concept that you're going to want to take a look at, where basically there's going to be a double team on an interior lineman, and then also they will just have a one-on-one matchup against a defensive back right over there. So that's basically the way this play is going to work. But there's one interesting thing. If you look at the two linebackers right over there, so typically you want to make sure you at least block one of them. What you'll often do is like maybe move a center up to try to block the linebacker who's closest in the direction you're going to run the ball, and then just hope that the other guy is far enough away that your halfback can outrun him. But Minnesota isn't going to do either. They have another plan. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to send their fullback up in that direction. And now you might be thinking, wait, that makes absolutely no sense. Wouldn't you want to send him to the bottom half of the screen so he could block somebody? But no, that's not what they're going to do. I mean, if you look, after the ball is snapped, they don't, and look at both of the linebackers, they're expecting a run to the top half of the screen because they saw the fullback run in that direction. Usually that's what you do. Usually the halfback just follows the fullback. I suppose it's even possible that that's the way this play was designed, and then Cook just saw that there's a huge hole right over there, and so changed it up. I doubt it, though, because I don't think you'd have a double team on the bottom half of the screen if that was the case. I think this was designed, and Cook is able to pick up another big gain. And I mean, that's a risky play call, too, on a second down and 10 to give the ball to your halfback. And you know what? When you have Cook, it works out. Those types of risks do work out, because if you only gain 2 yards, now you have a third and somewhat long, and who knows if you can convert or not. But right there, Cook was able to say, hey, don't even worry about a third down. I'll make up for me not getting the first down last time by getting a first down this time, and that's exactly what he did. So yeah, you know, they got the ball into Saints territory, that's good, but we all know what the biggest play was. Well, maybe the second biggest play. There was 2 big plays in overtime, and The first one was this one. It's going to be zone coverage. It's actually a cover 3 play, and they have Adam Thielen running a go route right over there. Pretty simple essentially. If Thielen can win his one-on-one matchup, there's a chance that it could just be a one-on-one matchup. There could be no safety help depending on what the safety who is deep does. And as you see, that's what happens. When Kirk Cousins throws it in that direction, you see that Thielen does have a one-on-one matchup. There isn't a ton of space here. I mean, he has a little bit of separation, but not a lot. There is not a ton of separation here. It'll take basically a perfect throw for this to be complete. But also worth keeping in mind that the New Orleans Saints safety is playing so far deep here. I mean, why not try to cut further in once you see that the throw is going in that direction, try to make a play on the ball? He just kind of misplays it, and he's kind of in no man's land. There's several Minnesota players who are in that area, but he's not covering any of them, so he basically took himself almost out of the play. But anyways, Cousins does make a perfect throw. Thielen makes a great catch, and just like that, inside the 5-yard line. And hey, the Minnesota Vikings at the 1-yard line. What could possibly go wrong? I was actually watching this game with my brother, and I made a joke that, okay, now the Minnesota Vikings' biggest test of the game, can they score at the 1-yard line? Because obviously they weren't able to do that earlier. And they certainly had their problems with it this time as well. They kind of had the mindset of, hey, even though they stopped us 4 times in a row on a halfback pitch, they really won't expect it the 5th time in a row, so let's try it there. Kind of a bit of a head scratcher, but you know what? It didn't work out, so now you got a 3rd down and goal at the 4-yard line. And for New Orleans, they're doing something very interesting here. They're just going straight up cover 0. It's just one man on each eligible receiver. They're just trusting their guys to hopefully make some plays. Personally, I don't know if I love this. I mean, you do have Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, and Kyle Rudolph, all great targets in this situation. Why not give some of them some help? But I think they feel more comfortable with, let's just make Kirk Cousins have to throw this ball quickly, cover 0. We can get there quicker because, we'll have more guys rushing than they have blocking. So Cousins is going to have to throw this ball immediately. So for Cousins, he has to make his decision before the ball is snapped, and he has. He knows that if this is cover 0, which is what the Saints are showing, he should probably hit Kyle Rudolph, who's running a fade to the top half of the screen, because that's just a great route in this situation. I mean, for one thing, he's like 2 feet taller than his assigned man in this situation, so you got the height advantage already. But for the other thing, it's just a low-risk play. The chances are it's either going to be incomplete or a touchdown. If it's incomplete, you can still kick a field goal or go for it, whatever you decide to do. But that's going to be Cousins' first read on this play. So look, after the ball is snapped, Rudolph, you have no idea if he's going to be open. I mean, maybe you can tell a little bit. The defensive back has turned his body a little bit so that he probably won't be able to look up and make a play on the ball necessarily, although he might. We'll have to wait and see. But for Cousins, he's just going to say, you know what, I got to take this chance here, which actually is very interesting, I think. Because if you've watched any of my previous Kirk Cousins videos, especially the negative ones I made about him, I think it was week 2 I made a negative video about him, and one of the things that I talked about that I didn't love from Cousins is the fact that it seemed like he wasn't trusting his receivers enough. He kind of wasn't willing to throw it in their direction, which I didn't know if I kind of didn't like. I'm like, you got these good, talented players, make some decisions, throw up some jump balls, let them make the plays sometimes. And that's what Kirk Cousins is going to do here, and it works out. It really kind of did come full circle. I mean, he started off this season as the guy who only got 10 passing attempts in their first game, and now they're going to him with the game on the line. I mean, after they took the ball out of his hands the first 2 times, but it came down to him having to take a chance with Kyle Rudolph. He threw it up, and Rudolph also just made a great play. Now, I know some Saints fans are arguing that should be pass interference, but that would be the weakest pass interference in that situation I would have ever seen if they called it. Was there a little bit of hand fighting? Sure, but for one thing, Williams is the one who initiated the contact, not Rudolph, so I don't see how you could call that interference on Rudolph. I would be very mad if they called it interference on Rudolph, especially if they overturned it. I mean, that would just not be fair. It would have been kind of poetic, though, if the Saints did get an overturn on the rule that they created, in a sense. I also thought it would have been hilarious if, Kirk Cousins threw a pick 6, but then they challenged it and got it called back on a defensive pass interference. I thought that would have also been very poetic. And honestly, there was a lot of sort of poetry in this game. I think the first thing I thought of was the last 2 times these 2 teams played in the Superdome was the 2009 NFC Championship game. Some people know it as the Bounty Gate game, where Brett Favre threw the interception late. They ended up going to overtime. The Saints got the coin toss, marched right down the field, kicked the field goal. Brett Favre never even got to see the field. So I find it kind of unique how this time, now the Vikings go right down the field, get a touchdown, which is what they need this time, and now the Saints never got to see the field. Things have come full circle in a very unique way. And one more thing I do gotta say is just you gotta feel so great for Kirk Cousins. I mean, after how much heat he's gotten, most of it unfair, some of it fair, but a lot of it unfair, how much heat he got. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Not take a big contract? I mean, sure, he's not Aaron Rodgers, most guys aren't, but he's a pretty good player, and he showed up big when he had to, so awesome story for Cousins. Nobody expected the Vikings to win it, and hey, nobody expects them to win next week either, so who knows what they can do there. Will I be predicting them to win that game? Probably not, but I didn't predict them to win this game, so what do I know? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching.